Michael Morales Torres para Lucha Libre Online y El Calce, junto a mí directamente de Impact Wrestling. Y ya mismito, a partir de enero TNA, Frankie Kazarian llega acá nuevamente a Lucha Libre Online. Frankie, and it's an absolute honor to have you back here at Lucha Libre Online, man. How are you doing today?
Thanks, man. I'm doing good. I'm up in Canada visiting in-laws. So yeah, happy to be here, man.
Man, thank you for being here. Glad to know you're doing well. I need to address the big elephant in the room, and as you know, what I was talking in Spanish. We've been Impact Wrestling. We've seen Impact Wrestling develop and create its own brand, completely separate to what it was, total non-stop action wrestling. And out of the blue, at least to all of us who didn't expect it, bam, Bound for Glory announcement. TNA is coming back starting on January 2024, starting on Hard to Kill. And I never expected this to happen. It was a huge surprise to basically to everyone, but the people that recorded the video. And starting on January 14 and January 13, to be specific, Hard to Kill is going to be at the Palms, Las Vegas, Nevada. And then we're going to see Snake Eyes on the 14th, the same venue. Both available at Ticketmaster in terms of tickets and Fight TV for pay-per-view. You were part of the original announcement. You were part of the selected crew that actually knew this. And man, I'm dying to know, how did you guys took it? Who gave you the announcement? Who notified you? Hey, we're recording this vignette, this video stating that we're coming back. How was the whole process actually?
Yeah, I was very much very clandestine, very hush hush. There was the select few of us that were privy to the information. All of us that were in the video, we all received emails and phone calls, and there was a lot of hoops to jump through. They went to a lot of extremes to make sure that this was kept very hush hush for obvious reasons. It's in this industry, trying to surprise people is very difficult. So I think internally everybody did a great job because nobody saw this coming, which is incredible considering the work that's been done to get to this point. Behind the scenes, I mean, this, from what I understand, this has been being discussed and talked about since dating back to like January or February. So the wheels have been in motion for a long time. And yeah, I found out and was had a conversation with Scott D'Amore about it. He called me personally and we discussed everything, and I had questions and he had answers, and it all made sense to me, especially being a guy that was there when this company was known as TNA originally. It's cool, man. It's we got a lot of really good momentum right now. When the announcement happened at Bound for Glory, almost universal positive feedback from everybody. I have friends in all companies. And my phone was blowing up. People that were just happy and psyched and enthusiasm. And, it's really cool to be part of this company right now and to be part of that momentum. And yeah, it was cool. We got the news that we're going to, we're filming this video. Eric Tompkins, who's a brilliant behind the scenes guy who does all the video production and all those awesome pre-tapes you see and all the cold opens and all that stuff. That's usually Eric Tompkins. And he's a unsung hero of the company. He had this whole script written out and everything. We approached it like filming a movie. We basically did like a small table read, and it was just really cool. It was really cool to be a part of that, and to film it and to see it, to see it on the screen and to be there in the ring, and to see people's reaction to the crowd and just feel that electricity. It was one of the coolest moments of my career.
Man, it was. To me specifically, was watching the show. It was not something I expected. I was just seeing the matches, then the announcement and the press release that Ross sent was very clear. Hey, we're coming back. This is our branding. And again, that's the thing. In terms of branding, Impact was, great. It's a great alternative. It was different. But TNA back then, it was no, it was not just a alternative. It was the competition, the direct competition, ratings wise, quality of programming,
right,
quality of talent. I mean, the TNA I knew back then was something completely different. Is this what Impact is currently pursuing with the change back to TNA in terms of the branding, not just being the alternative, but the direct competition as it was years ago?
Yeah, I mean, we're focused on putting out the best wrestling product. Competition. It's always good to have competition in the marketplace, but we, unlike other companies, are focused on what we're doing. You know, what other companies are doing don't necessarily concern us. You know, obviously our eyes are always open, but we are, you know, we and I am in the business of making TNA the very best that it can be. You know, and this is just, again, there's familiarity in the marketplace with the name TNA. From what I understand, a lot of places overseas, you know, still all these years later, still, you know, it was still basically falling under the TNA umbrella, even though it was Impact Wrestling. But I mean, this is like, I mean, if you want to call it a new coat of paint, you know, like a rebrand, that's what it is. You know, it's we spent a lot of time kind of running from our past, you know, like, but you know, we're embracing that now. There's a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers, a lot of guys in the locker room grew up not wanting to be wrestlers, wanting to be TNA wrestlers, you know. So, and now I'm in the generation where I started in TNA in 2003, and guys grew up watching me. They're now in the company, and they're my coworkers, and it's, you know, really, really cool. So, you know, you got this whole generation of guys that grew up on us, and now there's a generation of young men and women growing up on them, and that are now going to see TNA at its full strength back, you know, back on top where we belong.
Man, Impact has done such an amazing job, specifically on the Knockouts division, and I've stated this several times. In my opinion, yeah, Impact's Knockouts are the best women's division out there, period. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's just so well and so perfectly constructed that it's like the gem on top of the crown. It's a cherry on top. It's what everyone constantly watches. Your wife was a part of this, and she is now inducted in the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. You gave her the news, all that organic reaction. She started to cry. Was it true that she didn't know this? She noticed, you know, like she learned this in the ring?
Yeah, she knew. I mean, obviously, when I grabbed the mic, she was like, you know, what's going, something's going on. Yeah, and like, and you know, you know, I made the announcement. I said, you know, just look at the video screen, and when the front row grabbed our son, so I wanted him to be a part of that too. And again, man, just such a cool moment to see her reaction, and to have my son there, and the reaction she got from the crowd. You know, just the chants. It was cool because, you know, she was there before there was a Knockouts division. You know, they call her the original Knockouts, but she was there when it was just, you know, her and maybe, you know, one or two other girl. You know, you throw in like Goldilocks and Trinity, the other Trinity, Stephanie, I think her name is. You know, and the girls that were in the cage dancing. It was, you know, she was there in the early Wild West days. So, yeah, and she was a big part of the formation of the Knockouts division. You know, Gail Kim and her were pushing for it, you know, for a long time. And then, you know, to see it happen and to see it blossom. And, you know, the Knockouts were essentially the women's revolution, you know, a decade before it actually, you know, was in vogue and really blew up. And now we have incredible female wrestling all over every company. You know, those ladies are true pioneers. So it's cool to see it come full circle for her, and to watch her get inducted into the Hall of Fame as the first Knockouts. Very, very special moment for me.
Proud husband for sure. Like, that's very, very huge. I need to discuss your career. You've been inside this industry for decades at this point. Impact specifically since 2003 in the on and off situation, but 2003, it's been 20 years, and I've seen your record. Beyond impressive. What you've achieved it's a future legend status, let's say it this way. But there's something missing on that CV. There's something missing in that resume. World champion, the TNA world champion. Is that the one that got away? Is it something you're still pursuing?
Yeah, it hasn't gotten away because it's still there, and I'm still here. So as long as I'm still here, it's, you know, it's within my grasp. That's up to me to, you know, achieve that. And I said, you know, look, it's fitting that Hard to Kill. First of all, that name is fitting. You know, TNA has been hard to kill since day one. And it was at Hard to Kill earlier this year that I returned and announced that I was back and that I chose to be here. And I made no bones about it. You know, this is, you know, I have, you know, early on I had a lot of goals, and I've seen them to fruition, and I've succeeded at a lot of them. But you know, the one thing I have not done is become Impact World Champion. You know, and I've watched best friends. I've watched AJ become champion. I've watched Joe, and I've, you know, all these, you know, and my peers, you know, Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett, and, you know, guys I have a tremendous amount of respect for. But I also, you know, am on the same playing field as those guys, and know that I can and will be champion. And that certainly going into 2024 is going to be my focus.
So perfect. Definitely the title is definitely on the site. That's something you like to do. But there's also a very complete roster right now. Like it's complete from top to bottom. X Division, it's brilliant. You were part of the first Ultimate X Division match for the was a triple threat if I'm not mistaken.
Ultimate X match, yeah, the first one. Yep.
It was a triple threat. It was you, Chris Sabin, and we believe the other guy, Michael, right?
Michael Shane. Yes,
Perfect.
sir.
Michael Shane was the one who earned that title back then.
Yep.
What are your thoughts, just remembering that moment and seeing what the X Division can do now and seeing actually what the rest of the wrestlers can do now? Back then, you guys were the guys that basically innovated the system and changed it, and the X Division dictated a system in modern pro wrestling that is being used today in every single goddamn company.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be, a person that changed the game in terms of the wrestling style?
It's very cool because for what we as the X Division, the early X Division guys did, essentially is what the WCW cruiserweights did a generation before. We all, I myself personally am, my favorite type of wrestling was, I guess you can call it like 80s and 90s WWF Intercontinental style. Like my favorite wrestler is Tito Santana. Love Ricky Steamboat, Bret Hart. Yeah, Tito Santana is my favorite. Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Shawn, all those guys, that style I loved. But watching what those cruiserweights are doing in WCW was mind-blowing because, it's stuff that had never been seen, at least here in the United States. Obviously, Mexico, Lucha Libre has been doing a different style of wrestling and a very cool style of wrestling for a long time, as well as in Japan. But just to see what those guys were doing was incredible. And then to be part of, what we were doing, we were all very lucky to have the roster we did. I mean, when you look at like the X Division in 2003, 2004, you're talking about Jerry Lynn, who's a pioneer, multiple companies, multiple styles, Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, Low Key, Amazing Red, Petey Williams, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, myself, Juventud Guerrero. You can't go in there and not have an incredible match with any of those guys. So we were very, very fortunate. It was very smart for Jeff and company and Scott and everyone involved to put that type of crew together because, it was just the right formula to bring something different when the business really needed something different. So I'm very, very fortunate that I was in there with such amazing, incredible, talented, young men that were hungry and veterans like Jerry Lynn, guys that were just, helping bring up our generation. It was cool. Very, very fortunate. And to see what the guys are doing now, they've taken what we were doing and taken it to another level. That, that makes me smile. I wear that as a badge of honor for sure.
Man, I want to say something in Spanish very quick, if you allow me. And that's este 9 de diciembre, Impact presenta Final Resolution, el último pay-per-view dentro del flagship o dentro del umbrella de Impact Wrestling. Va a ser el 9 de diciembre, está disponible por Impact Plus, al igual que por Fight TV. Denle la oportunidad, tienen muchos combates anunciados, entre ellos el debut de Zack Sabre Jr., o sea que tienen que agarrar el boleto, cómpralo si estás cerca del área. Es impactwrestling.com para boletos, pero si estás por pay-per-view, mano, créeme que te lo vas a disfrutar igual, Fight TV o Impact Plus. Y como les dije ahorita, 13 de enero y 14 de enero de igual manera, Impact va a estar presentando su evento Hard to Kill el 13 de enero en Las Vegas, en Nevada, en The Palms, como mencioné ahorita, y el 14 Snake Eyes también en The Palms, en Las Vegas, Nevada. Va a ser el nacimiento o el rebranding del mercado. Boletos a la venta en ticketmaster.com y de igual manera disponible en pay-per-view por Fight TV, o simplemente hagan clic aquí a la parte de abajo, le va a aparecer el link. Frankie, it's been an absolute honor to have you. I wish I could ask like a lot more, but I got one more question I need to, brother.
Hit me with it. Yeah, man.
I've seen your posts, and I quote, "It was great to catch up with my old friend Conan. K-Dog went out of his way to help look after and mentor a young Frankie Kazarian over 20 years ago, which he absolutely didn't have to do and had nothing had nothing to gain by doing so. So grateful for his friendship." How important is the figure of Conan for Frankie Kazarian? Because he's like the godfather of Lucha Libre for many talent all over the world, and he helped you in your career. You had the opportunity to share time with him as well recently at Chicago when you guys were at Cicero Stadium. Juventud Guerrera as well. How the hell does that guy never gets old? But anyway, he never ages. That's person's thing. But Conan, how important was like your relationship with him?
Conan's very important to me. We bonded early on. We first met on a tour of Beirut, Lebanon in 2002. And that, I mean, I could talk about that tour, but we'd be here for hours because honest to God, the stuff that happened on that tour, it sounds like fiction. So him and I have stories for years and we bonded there. Let's just say it was very dangerous, very shady. But you know, we managed to make the best of it and had a lot of laughs. But that's when I first met him. And, you know, right after that tour, he and I were both going to be on a 3-week tour of the United Kingdom. And he called me. We exchanged numbers and he called me and, you know, my phone rang and it was like, it was a 619 area code back then. It was like, hello. He's like, yo, this is K-Dog. I'm like, wow. Like, you know, at the time, you know, I'm 4 years in. I'm like, wow, Conan's calling me. Like, what? Like,
crap.
And he's like, hey man, have you been to the United Kingdom? And I was like, no, sir, I have not, you know. And he's like, okay, look, it's very cold, it's very expensive, blah, blah, blah. And he just started dropping all this knowledge on me, man, like out of his way, just, you know, prepping me, hey, make sure you bring this, you know, this, what time do you land? Okay, I'll be there. Come say what's up, you know. So just went out of his way, man. Didn't know me from anything other than us meeting in Beirut, which again, we bonded there. And even in there, him and I went out, you know, the last night and he was just constantly giving me advice, just took me under his wing. Just again, you know, maybe he saw something in me, but didn't have to. And it's not just anybody doing that. It's a guy that's significant. He's the Hulk Hogan of Mexico in a lot of ways. You know, his importance, I don't think gets the credit that it deserves. So for him to do that, man, it always stuck with me. And then starting TNA and he was there and, you know, we've had a friendship for years and I love that guy. I'm very grateful for him. And, you know, that's the position I'm in now. Like I try to do what he did for me to the younger guys and girls now. And I just love K-Dog, man. He's an example of what the business should be.
Man, the new guys are blessed, to say it this way, to have figures like Conan. They're going to develop perfectly, and Impact is going to provide them the right course, the right pathway. I'm going to wrap this up because Ross is going to kill me. Ross, thank you for this. Frankie as well, thank you for your time. And let's wrap this up en español. Frankie Kazarian y Michael Morales Torres para Lucha Libre Online y El Calce, porque en español nadie lo hace mejor. 13 y 14 de enero, Hard to Kill y Snake Eyes. Y nuevamente 9 de diciembre, Final Resolution. Hagan clic acá abajo y no se lo pierdan por nada del mundo.